is going on? I want to show you some paintings and talk to you about fine art versus miniature painting, why we have it so easy. Miniature painting is definitely the easiest, probably painting to form, I guess, to make a living full time. And I just want to show you some deep dives into some artwork here. And, let's start a discussion in the comments. So you're going to be pretty amazed if you've never really looked into this type of stuff before. So first, let's check this guy out here. This is an abstract painting. No, I'm just kidding. One thing I don't like about one thing I don't like about miniature painting is people try to convince you that you're supposed to remove all the brush strokes because, I guess, I don't know, Golden Demon in 1992, somebody faded yellow into red and all of a sudden everybody wanted to blend everything. Here's an oil painting, which you can clearly see a lot of brush strokes. I mean, this is probably an abstract painting, right? Let's zoom out a little bit here. Oh, now we're getting a little more. And zooming out again, you can probably see what this is. And boom, look at that. That is awesome. So when we zoom all the way in on this, you can clearly see they did not remove all the brush strokes. Look at that little zigzag there, little downstroke to the right and then down again. That's one brush stroke, right? Doot, doot, doot. And maybe he twisted his brush a little bit when he did that. You got the reflected lights here in the eye socket. Sorry, that's the cheekbone, but the eye socket's here. And you can see all the paint brush strokes are in directions on purpose. This is very common in oil painting and miniature painting. If you don't know that, start painting in the direction to help emphasize the form. So if you see here, coming down the side of the nose here, the paintbrush strokes are going in a downward motion. Following the eye here, they're actually curving around the eye. He's not painting downward strokes here at the bottom of the eye. He's going with the eye, and he's helping to emphasize the planes of the bones. So if you look here at the teeth, this is pretty cool. You can see all these little brush strokes, little marks here and there. And you zoom really far in here. This is not a blended out skull that you would see in miniature painting where somebody would lead you to believe that you would need to, say, airbrush it to get the perfect smooth blends. Whereas no miniature painted skull looks as good as this, probably. I mean, I've seen the crystal brush twice. It's good. They are pretty amazing, but I don't know if they're even this good. And this isn't even like a award winner at one of the biggest competitions, right? This is just like a finalist, an honorable mention. And I'm not saying it's the best painting ever, but it's pretty awesome. So let's get into this a little more here. You can see on the cloth too, they treat the different textures differently. So the cloth is a little more smooth and blended, but it's not completely blended. You can still clearly see brush strokes. You can see the little swirls here in the cloth, and they continue some reflected light there. So hopefully you enjoyed that. This painting obviously is huge, right? No, this painting is actually 8 by 10 inches. That's like charging out a Deep Strike. So this painting is actually very small for oil painting standards, and let's check out. This is painted in 2017 by Nick Easley? I don't know how to say things. But anyway, so hopefully you like that one. Let's go on to the next one here. This one is an abstract nature painting, and that's also not true. I'll stop trying to use that joke. I want to start out zoomed in though, so you can get the perspective of, well, basically what everybody in miniature painting is telling you not to do, and I'm telling you, you can do it if you want, and there's definitely a place for it. So if you look here, there's a lot of little crazy paint marks, different colors, different little splotches, little zigzags, little swooshes, all kinds of crazy stuff going on. I mean, look at almost no rhyme or reason. Look at these little marks here. And as we zoom out, wow, this is an amazing portrait painting. And if you're not familiar, so to me, the reason people should like this and hate abstract art is because this is abstract art. They're creating a three-dimensional realistic limit or image on a two-dimensional surface. That's an abstract concept. Also, if you zoom in, what they've actually done is not copied a photograph, but they have, chosen how to treat edges of the painting, and the way the artist treats the edges of the forms is what creates the magic of the painting. So here you see there's soft edges, it's kind of blurred out here, and then here we got a harder edge where the light is. Also, if you check out the background here, it looks like a cityscape, nice plant life down here, but when we zoom in, that's not a plant, right? That's abstract as it gets. If you're telling me a crappy Jackson Pollock painting is supposed to be good when it looks like this zoomed out, no, it's not. It's terrible. I don't care what you say. This is going to read, though, as a plant because you're going to zoom out, right? You're going to look at it from this distance farther away. So when you're looking at a miniature, I don't think you have to have it. I mean, they are small, so people want to get real close, but the image is allowed to look, the miniature is allowed to look like a painting when you get up close. It is a painting. It doesn't have to keep being completely perfectly blended. Like, it's definitely a Golden Demon thing. It's super weird to me, I guess. I was probably more interested in miniatures. I've been into miniatures in the 90s. I've been into oil painting and painting and stuff all my life as well. So kind of I got into them both, but longer I would say oil painting and fine art, and more recently into, say, miniature painting. But I want to show you a couple key things here too that I really noticed on this one that I think are really fantastic. Besides the abstraction of the background here, these are not rooftops, these are not trees, these are just colored marks that create the illusion, an abstract illusion of what that is, which is, a city outside a window here. Fantastic. If you look here, I want to show you some little lights here that all painters usually pick out. Look at this red light here in his eyeball. See, that's like a alizarin crimson or some kind of magenta. First of all, I want you to notice his eye is not white at all. It's not a white eyeball with a black dot. You zoom out, it still looks clearly like an eye, and it actually looks pretty good, right? It looks like an eye in shadow, which it is. But when you zoom in all the way, that's a really dark eyeball, which you would never think to do in a miniature painting. Especially a beginner's naturally going to go towards a super white color. And I do the same thing, not, white, but I think like a celestial gray or an ultimate gray is even a nice choice just to not be white, but still a light color. Also, you can see the little specks here. This mark here is fantastic. This little dot right here, which is basically telling you that this part of the skin is transparent and light is coming through it. You got the heavy light here hitting his mustache. And then that dot right there with this bright red color is telling you that's transparent and there's blood in there. That's what makes him look alive, okay? The reds and maroons in here, looks like blood, right? He doesn't look like a airbrush chalk person like most even professional miniature paintings look like. Probably including mine because I'm not as good as this. But it happens all the time. You see these like airbrush busts and stuff, and they look like chalk people. And it's weird. But then they go into Photoshop and adjust like the contrast and the saturation to make it look like, boom, it's amazing on Facebook and Instagram. But really, the reason it looks so amazing is because the image you're seeing is on a device that's emitting light. So you're looking at a phone screen or a computer screen, and because that image is putting light out into your eyes, all those actual whites and brights aren't that bright in person. Go to Crystal Brush or whatever, and you'll see them, and they look very chalky. And it's just, not all of them, but the majority, very chalky. Some of your very favorite or painters, when you see those miniatures in real life, they do not look as good as on the computer. Oh, I got the hiccups. It's as good as on the computer. It's just what it is. I think miniature painters are more inclined to adjust their photos to make them look as good as possible, whereas in the fine art world, these are just really, really high quality images taken of the painting, and that's just how it is. And I'm going to do that too, right? I'm going to adjust the contrast a little bit, not adjust colors, but I want to make the blacks look a little blacker if I'm, trying to sell a model on eBay or something, just to sell what I hope it looks like in person. But, you don't want to go all out and get crazy with saturation and everything like that. Another really cool mark here is this one right here in his ear. This pink bright color. It's like a smudge, 2 smudges. Awesome, awesome use of light there. When you zoom out, you don't even notice it. But just that little bit of red is reminding you that there's blood in his ear. It's thinner. You can see through it. There's red light coming in here. So there's some kind of bounce light in the room. Something also interesting to note on this one, of course, the hair is fantastic. Like, the hair is just a mess of marks and colors. Even here, like the wispy balding hair like mine, if I grew it out. Look at those. I mean, there's little scraggly little marks, little dots of yellow there that are showing you that the kind of transparent hair is catching yellow light. Freaking awesome. Zoom out, boom, you got the little thinning hair up there. Fantastic. Check out this here, that bright kind of yellow in the eyebrows here, which is kind of the same. It's speckled along his head here. A little bit of it dotted back here in the back. Mustache, beard. Some of those yellows spotted in around the whites. And he's going to repeat that kind of on this wall here. So maybe that yellow is coming from bounced light off the wall. And then also, if you look, it's kind of even repeated, not that saturated, so that's a bright yellow. But if you desaturate it, you got some of these yellows out here in the distance, right? These two, this one, right? So those are desaturated versions of a similar yellow that's used here in the face. Another cool thing on this one, definitely how they capture the transparency of the shirt here with the yellow light coming through. But if you zoom in, all this part is not transparent at all, right? This is thicker white paint to show that, a lot of times in oil painting, the highlight is very opaque. A lot of times the shadows are transparent here. I mean, you can see the canvas pretty much. I'm almost positive that's actually the canvas that this is painted on. And that's because the shadows are often transparent. If you look here too, like the stubble under your 5 o'clock shadow is really just smears of grays, purples in his neck there. Zoom in, doesn't look like anything. Zoom out, you can't even tell, but it looks like a 5 o'clock, like an unshaven neck area catching some light. Pretty cool. He also captures like chest hair and stuff here with just minimal marks. This is really, really good. I believe this one won Best in Show, and we'll check that here in a second. Also, the pattern on the shirt is not completely done, every little zigzag line all the way through. He does it kind of here on the light side, kind of loses it down here, finishes it up on the collar, and definitely loses it out here. But if you zoom in, he's kind of showing you it's still there by just these dots of blue, these little marks, right? Little marks of blue, dots, smudges. And that's just kind of showing you that that blue is there. And your eyeball's like, yeah, okay, I get it. That's where it is. That's just the crazy thing too, is like, this doesn't look like painting of a cloth shirt, but when you zoom out, it doesn't look like anything but painting of a cloth shirt. One really cool, I love talking about this, by the way, so hopefully you're somewhat interested in it. One of the really, really cool things here, boom, look at those little lights. See that little, like almost like a raindrop or a little spark is shooting off that shirt. Now this is going to give him kind of like almost maybe like a loose fabric fuzz, kind of, like you could see the fuzz on the shirt, or like a looser, thread, but also it pops. It's very small and subtle when you zoom out here, but those little lights just boop, boop, just bouncing down, right? So if you look at the painting here, you got some lights here, and then just to follow in, little light here on the back of the collar, and then a couple little, it's a little easier to see if you go like here. There's only a couple bright colors down here. The rest of this is very muted, very dark, or closer to dark mid grays, but then those couple little lights show you that the light's almost bouncing off the back of his shirt. Fantastic. This guy, let's go. Ming Yu painted this one, 15.5 by 19.5 inches. Just, amazing. Like 19 inches, that's a little less move than a Storm Talon, right? So, and 15 inches, right? It's rapid fire range for like a Dire Avenger or something. So that one I hope you liked a lot. And this next one is going to blow your mind as well. This guy also won Best in Show here. He won a $10,000 prize. And also the work is in a private collection. So that means somebody bought it or, he gave it to somebody. But so a $10,000 prize, that's pretty big money for a painting for Best in Show for here at the artrenewal.org. If you like high quality, realistic, living masters and old master paintings, the biggest online museum with the best photos of all of it is artrenewal.org. It is amazing. I own a lot of their books, including like a $400 book I bought off here. I'll show you that someday. It's my pride and joy. So this one here, I mean, just smears of color, incredible. And as we zoom out, oh my Lord. This is an acrylic painting, I believe. And that is unbelievable. So when we're sitting there doing edge highlighting on a little model, just remember what this, I believe, lady did going through this peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, this kind of painting here, still, as realistic as it is, has some abstract qualities, right? This is not an exact reflection of this. This is an abstract reflection. This does not look like anything. It's not an exact mirrored copy of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich that is bouncing off the table, right? These are abstract. You can still see the brush marks. This is why actual abstract painting sucks and fine art is this. So when you get up close, wow, you can get in there and see that a human being painted this with their bare hands. And this is what gets me just, woo, look at that. So this is telling me a human did this, and this is telling me that human's better than me. And also I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Just look at this thing. It is so unbelievable. Now, this one, I mean, and if you zoom in too, you can still see the brush marks. Well, not so much on the bread, but kinda. I mean, if you zoom in here, that's just little marks of whites and yellows and creams. It's not like they painted each curve of each crusty hole in the bread. They kind of, as we would probably do, stipple it, but she worked her brush around until she created a texture. When you zoom in, right, this is not the texture of bread when you look at it like this. But when you look at it like this, it's nothing but the texture of bread. And because this has so much texture and it's perfect values and colors, your eyeball just says, yeah, that's white bread. No doubt about it. That's bread. But if I showed you this, you don't go, well, that's clearly white bread. So that's just something fun to think about when you're looking at textures. And also, if you want to look at the textures on a miniature painting and then see what people are doing in the fine art world, which is just, this one is just crazy. So this one has a little gimmick to it where it is, I believe how they do these, the painter is almost like a mimic in a way. They are obviously making artistic choices. I can see down here, this white mark here to catch the bread highlight. Obviously that seems more of an artistic choice. These whites in the highlights of the bread here, and the jelly stained bread with the peanut butter stain. This kind of blur of jelly and bread together, beautiful. But what they do is they take like a really high quality image of the thing they're going to paint, probably blow it up on a big monitor, possibly transfer it exactly to a canvas, using either a projector or some kind of tracing method. A lot of old painters were believed to do that, like Caravaggio with a camera obscura. And then they take a small object and they blow it up really big, and then that way they can paint all the little tiny details in it, and then it looks amazing because it looks like a high def image. And wouldn't that be funny if I click out of this one and this actually just turns out to be a photo? That's how good this one is, but it's not. This one is painted by Katie Koenig, acrylic on canvas, 30 by 48 inches. So this one's actually the biggest one we even looked at. Obviously achieved the highest realism that we've seen in this little demonstration. Probably the least amount of brush strokes in a way, except if you count all of this, I mean, these little highlights here, they're just little marks with white paint or off-white paints to create the reflections. The reflections on the peanut butter are the same as on the jelly. You know, there's some painterly stuff going on here, but this one will really blow your mind. So if you're, first of all, if you want to make a living being a painter, this is much harder. Much, much harder. Don't even think that this is easily achievable. It's much, much easier to get good at miniature painting and sell miniatures. And they're wonderful, and they bring so much joy to my life, and I love them, but I love this too. So if you want to be a professional artist and you like miniatures, it's definitely going to be an easier route than competing with Katie here on her peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then also, like, you know, if you want to paint a figure, the mastery of this, the values, the colors, everything, just amazing. And this one here, obviously a little more achievable, but still incredible. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I just kind of wanted to spew out some information about oil painting and thoughts versus miniature painting versus oil painting, kind of how my brain thinks about them both. And I wanted to kind of dispel the myth of, you know, blending every little mark on your model. It makes no sense to me. Clearly these people aren't doing it, and they're much, much better than probably the best miniature painters in the world. If you love painting, check out Ghost Brushes on eBay. If you want to join my Discord that I'm going to set up soon, some private chat, one-on-one, we could talk about paintings or mental health or whatever, miniatures, Warhammer. Join my Patreon below, pick up some Ghost Brushes, leave some comments. You can email me if you have any questions. I'm here to be a part of the community, and I love spending time with you guys, so hopefully I hear from you.